Alright, hello guys. In this video we're going to be talking about multiple nor'easters that could be in the pattern for the next few weeks. I talked about in my November forecast how it was going to be possible for more nor'easters to come around. And here we go. We have more on the way, at least one, maybe two here in the near future. Now before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this with your friends on social media and Facebook as well. Now let's get started with this video. Now we're looking at our current surface map as of right now for the entire United States, and this is as of this morning, Wednesday, November 13th. You can see there is all sorts of lake effect snow, clipper system. We can see our storm that just occurred for the Northeast, and then as well as some portions of the Mid-Atlantic is out there in the ocean by now. So it's pretty quiet with the exception of that light snow going on for some of the northern United States. Also, I'd like to mention, you can see that there's a giant trough there in the eastern United States. Again, that's that record cold. We were expecting today to be the coldest. And let me know how it feels out there in the comments down below. Let me know how I did with that prediction that we'd have record cold or at least extremely below average temperatures for most of the eastern United States. Let me know how it feels today out there, because it is very, very cold where I'm at least. Alright, now we're going to zoom into the southeastern United States and get started with our first nor'easter system here on simulated radar, and things are looking very intense. We're going to go over the simulated radar, the potential wind, and then also the total rainfall, and we're going to go over different scenarios that could potentially take place here. The southeast seems like a sure thing. The northeast, we're going to have to watch and see and let this thing progress a little bit further. Now let's get right into the southeastern view for the radar. Alright, so you can see here we have a little bit of precipitation developing by the time we're at tomorrow morning, Thursday, November 14th in the morning, and you can see we have some of those darker greens going on in the Gulf of Mexico. This is where typically we expect nor'easters to begin, okay? A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people are like, oh, well, you actually have the wrong terminology for nor'easter. These systems oftentimes begin in areas like Kansas and Nebraska. The low pressure systems start very, very weak, and then they enter the Gulf, and then they head back up the eastern United States, or oftentimes they can start out as a clipper as well up in areas like Alberta, head down into the United States, and then enter the Atlantic Ocean in the Mid-Atlantic. So these storms can start in all sorts of different ways. Now, the one thing that makes it technically a nor'easter, and sometimes I actually don't even take this into consideration, sometimes a coastal storm, I would just call it a nor'easter just because. But the official terminology is that it would have winds heading in from the northeastern United States, so from the northeast into the southwest of where the storm is located. Alright, so that's the official terminology for a nor'easter. Let's move on a frame, and you can see this low pressure system is located just near the panhandle of Florida now. Heavier precipitation. You can see it's about to take its northerly turn and head up the coast here. It's not a very strong low pressure system whatsoever by this point, but Florida, you could get quite a bit of rain from this one. And that's by Thursday night, so November 14th, the night of November 14th into November 15th. And you can see by midday on November 15th, we have a very strong area of precipitation there offshore of South Carolina and North Carolina. And this is where things are going to start to really, really intensify with this one, as it's about to head up the coast and bring heavy precipitation to at least the southeast and the mid-Atlantic. As we move on a frame, you can see it's rapidly dropping in pressure. It's a 998 millibar low pressure system there off of Beaufort, North Carolina by this point, bringing heavy precipitation onshore to North Carolina and the Outer Banks, and even some ice and mixed precipitation there for the areas just on the border of central Virginia and central North Carolina there. A little bit of pinks and purples going on. Can't really promise that's going to be a thing or not. It only has a couple pixels there on the model showing that, so we'll wait and see if that's actually going to happen or not. But for now, it's 84 hours out, so it's really hard to tell where we would see mixing, and the timing can be different. So a lot of things can change with the precipitation type department. Now, we're going to move on to Sunday morning, Sunday, November 17th, the morning time, and you can see it's a 995 millibar low pressure system, and this is where things could really change, you know. We see it really start to just head straight east, but if the timing is different or anything changes, we could see this one ride up the east coast. There's nothing saying that can't happen. We do see some mixed precipitation there for Virginia, North Carolina, as well as Maryland. So again, some more mid-Atlantic and southeast snowfall potentially, which is just extremely interesting to me because it's just not something that commonly occurs. And we're going to take a zoomed-in look at the northeastern United States now for Monday morning, early Monday morning, maybe 2 a.m. on Monday, November 18th. And you can see nothing really reaches the New England states with this low pressure system. And as I move on another hour to, this is going to be Monday night, November 18th into 19th. And you can see just showers around. So nothing really going on. All right. Now we're going to take a look at our Canadian model, though, which is going to be way more interesting and have a little bit more going on for the northeastern United States as far as even snowfall. Now you can see we're starting out with things just in the mid-Atlantic, and you can already see it's a lot closer on shore to the Delmarva, southeast Virginia. We can see some heavier precipitation going on for these regions, and even snow trying to mix in with the rain there in some areas in West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, as well as a little bit of snow there for some of the Berkshires up there in Massachusetts. All right, so let's move on to early Wednesday morning once again. So this is maybe 2 or 3 a.m. on Wednesday, and you can see it's not completely onshore yet. It could even come further west than this, but we do see some light to moderate snow there for New Hampshire and Maine, which is a big step up from the GFS. So to me, this indicates, well, we're 100 to 170 hours out from these nor'easters occurring, different types of systems. The timing on the GFS and the CMC are way different. So we'll have to watch and see what happens with these ones because there's multiple storms potentially, and just the timing could be very, very different. And also it could be further west, further east, more cold with more snow, or maybe just all rain. A lot can transpire, so I'm definitely going to need to update you guys on these storms, probably individually. All right, now let's take a look at our total rainfall for this one, according to the GFS on the southeastern United States particularly. You can see in the green shades, we're at about anything to a half inch of rain, so any rain falling to a half inch of rain. And then in the blues, we're at a half inch to 2 inches of rain. And in those pink shades, we're at about 2 inches to 6 inches of rain. And then once it gets into those red colors, which you can see shows up there for some of the Outer Banks in North Carolina and those areas, that's where we are at 6 inches plus. It even turns a little bit yellow, which indicates closer to 10 inches. So potentially a lot of rainfall for these regions, which is going to be very interesting to track because that could potentially mean flooding if we're getting 10 inches of rain. And these strong winds, which we're about to talk about right now. We're going to talk about who could see the most winds and how strong, who could see 50 knot winds plus during this event. All right, so first things first, we're looking at the southeast once again, and this is earlier on in the storm. This is Friday, November 15th, and you can see we have some of those greens, yellows, and even oranges heading on shore, which indicates 20 to 36 knot winds there for areas in South Carolina and North Carolina. As we move on, though, to midday Saturday, November 16th, you can see things change for the worst, where we see a lot of reds showing up. That's where we're seeing 40 knot winds to 50 knot winds there along the North Carolina coast, and even we see some of the yellows and oranges for Virginia, Delmarva, New Jersey, South Carolina still. So that's where we could potentially see 30 knots to 40 knots in those regions. Now, it gets even worse as we head towards Saturday night into November 17th. You see some of the purple showing up there for North Carolina. That's where we're going to see 50 knots plus in some of those purple areas. If this verifies, we could be dealing with strong winds for a lot of these regions. And then it kind of weakens from that point and heads a little bit further east. And then you could see so that was 12Z Sunday, and now by 0Z Monday, which is going to be Sunday night, you can see the yellows and oranges are still a little bit onshore, and our low pressure system is a 997 millibar low pressure system by this point, which is pretty intense. Now, let's take a look at the East Coast as a whole, and you can see those greens and yellows reach all the way up to Boston and a lot of those southern New England coastal regions. I just wanted to show this to let you guys know that just because there's not going to be any precipitation according to this model in New England does not mean you won't be feeling winds from this one, as the winds stretch all the way up the East Coast almost. Some of those moderate to strong winds. So this could be a big wind event at the least for the entire East Coast of the United States during our next nor'easter. And I wanted to mention in this video, you might see in the title, I might have mentioned that it's nor'easters and not just nor'easter. We do have the potential for 1 or 2 more after this one, but they're a little bit far out, so I'm waiting to show that. But we do have strong potential for more than just 1 nor'easter coming up. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to share this with your friends and family if you think they'll find it interesting. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.